Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world, and this is my 2022 Mid-Year WIP Parade. So WIP stands for Work in Progress. It just means a cross-stitch pattern that has been started, that I've started stitching on but have not finished. So a WIP parade is just a parade through all of my projects. I like to film these mid-year because I tend to have time, and also just like to kind of do a survey and kind of see where I'm at with all of my projects. I never, the WIP parades are extremely popular at the end of the year or the very, very beginning of the year. But I just never seem to have time myself to film one at that point. And so I usually just wait and then do like a mid-year check-in. So that's what we're going to do today. I have 104 projects. So I am going to try to move quickly because that is obviously going to take a while. So this will be a little bit rapid fire. I have no idea how long this video will be, but I don't. They tend to be, an hour and a half or so. So we'll see. Let's get started. I'm going to go chronological order. So from my oldest to my newest. And because there are 104, I have not ironed these, and they are in bags, so you're going to hear some crinkling. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And then I'm going to have quite the mess to finish, to put away when I'm finished. So my very oldest project is Little House Needleworks Old Nantucket. I started this in July of 2017. So 2017 was when I really got into stitching and started visiting. I started stitching a lot in 2016, but 2017 is when I really got into it. So this was my oldest project. It is on 36 count Lakeside Linens and Vintage Lentil, which is one of my favorite colors from them. And I'm using the called for flosses. And it was a rookie time for me. So I probably would have done this on 40 count if I could redo this. I used 2 strands on 36 because I wasn't happy with the coverage of one. But then it got really crowded and a little bit difficult, especially stitching this full coverage house. But it looks good. It's just, I prefer to either commit to 2 strands on a lower count or do 1 strand on a higher count. Anyway, this is my oldest project, and I think it's totally finishable, and I think it might be something that I will focus on getting finished this year. So my next oldest is Plum Street Samplers Jack's Bash, and this looks like this. And again, 36 count. I was getting brave at this point in my stitching, and I was venturing into the higher count, but I was still I guess too scared to commit to 40 count. So this is 36 count, but I'm doing 1 strand, and it's the called for colors, but I'm doing 1 strand over 2, and I think the coverage is fine. So sometimes I don't mind 1 strand on 36, but often I'm unhappy with the coverage. And that's why I prefer 40 count personally. Just a preference. It's just a preference. My next one is Rosewood Manor Autumn Quakers. I am stitching this on I think it's the called for fabric, which is Picture This plus doubloon. And it's a 28 count. And I'm using the Valdani floss pack that you could get for this. So they come in wrapped in little balls. Oh my gosh, I thought I had more done than this. I do not have very much done on this at all. And I apologize, I feel like my camera wants to turn everything much cooler as I get in close. It's a very warm fabric and warm floss. I really do like this one. I like stitching on it as well, but I don't know why I haven't gotten back to it. I really thought I had more done on it than that. So, oh well. This is Primitive Hair Christmas at Orchard House. And this is another one I really don't have a lot done on, but I do love this pattern and I always intend that I will come back to it. I've actually gotten rid of a ton of my WIPs from this era because I realized I would go look and realize I hadn't touched it in 2 or 3 years, and just kind of was able to let some go because I could admit they weren't calling to me. This one I don't have very much done. However, I'm not letting it go because I really do love this one. This is stitched on a 32 count Picture This Plus linen in the color Relic. And here is my little start. A very warm gold fabric. And it's just stitched with DMC. And I don't think that one would take long at all to finish. It never seemed to get back to it. This one I do think I have a lot of progress on and could finish. This is Heap on the Wood by Brenda Gervais. And I believe I'm using all of the called for floss except for 1 or 2 I had to sub something from Stash because I didn't have it or it wasn't showing up quite right. And this is on a 32 count Picture This Plus in the color Wren. Because it's on 32 count, it's really big. But I do like how this is looking. So I have a good amount done on this one. And I know the color I subbed specifically, it was this, the words in the middle, I'm definitely doing it in a different color. And if I remember right, it's been a while since I worked on it. If I remember right, it called for something like putty and it was just totally like the color of the fabric and it wasn't showing up. So that's why I had to switch it. Okay, and then my last WIP from 2017 is Rosewood Manor Winter Quakers. This is also being stitched with the called for Valdani floss, but not, I'm using a different fabric. So it calls for Picture This Plus in Dwarf. I am using, I believe it's a hand-dyed by Stephanie in the color Snowdrifts, which is just like a nice icy blue. And I have more done on this one than on the autumn version. So yay me. I do enjoy those patterns and I do enjoy that floss. They are really big patterns and I just haven't quite found the time to commit back to them. So now we're into 2018. So my first WIP from 2018 is Leela's Studio Let Freedom Ring. This is a big project, but I have a ton done on this actually. This is stitched on Primitive Hair 35 count Old New England linen. And here is where I'm at on this. This is stitched with all the called for floss, which is mostly DMC and then a few Gentle Arts, I believe. There is that. Oh, this is going to be such a mess to clean up. So then I have Ink Circles Get Crackin'. I really love this one. I do think this one is very finishable. I don't think it's that much stitching. I am stitching this with the called for Gloriana silks, which are just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm stitching this on a 36 count Picture This Plus fabric in the color Serene. This was definitely my Picture This Plus era. Like that was about all I bought. And some Lakeside linens, because at the time my LNS, that was what they had the best stock of. Of course, now it's like impossible to find Lakeside linens, but they used to have an amazing stock of that. They still have a really good stock of Picture This Plus linens. But this is like a minty, icy blue. And those are the Gloriana silks, which are stunning. And that's really fun to stitch. So this is My oldest stitch along, and I love this one, and I don't know why I haven't finished it. I really, truly love this. This is Ingleside Imaginarium, Guardians of Notre Dame. It's stitched with DMC and 1 Gentle Arts. And I'm stitching this on a like 28 or 30 count linen that I dyed myself. And I absolutely love the design. I love the way it's looking. The back stitch is definitely not fun to do, but it gives the most amazing effect of the stained glass windows. So there's the called for DMC, and then in the border is the Gentle Arts. I think it's Moonlight Path is the stone. Is that not like just stunning? This is still one of my favorite designs. I think it's just, it's so good. It is so good. Maybe I'll make that a focus on finishing. My next one is my first chatelaine. This is Marie Antoinette. Here's a bad digital picture. It's a digital chart, so I printed off a picture. It's not a great picture, but that's kind of what it's going to look like. I'm stitching mine on 32 count Picture This Plus French lilac with all the called for DMC fancy floss, all the things. So this is a deep, deep purple. And here's where I'm at on this. This is Pineberry Lane, Autumn on Marigold Lane. It looks like this. I am stitching mine with some of the called for, and then I sub stuff that I had in stash that looked the same. And this is Lakeside Linen, 36 count Vintage Light Exemplar. Which is just gorgeous. I wish this fabric wasn't so hard to get a hold of because it's just beautiful. Okay, this is from the Sampler Girl. This is Sense and Sensibility Sampler. This was a PDF I bought from her website, and unfortunately when I printed it, I did not print it in color. So here is a black and white copy. I worked on this recently, like just a few months ago. And I definitely need to finish this one because I feel like it is finishable. This is a Picture This Plus 36 count in the color Mellow. And I have the top done and I just need to do the bottom. It's gonna be a long, skinny, I'm gonna just finish it as like a long, flat fold, not a flat fold, like a flat hanging, like a banner. I didn't leave myself much margin to do much else than that. But that's just the DMC, so it's a very bright chart. And then this one, I'm so embarrassed because I have the smallest start on this. It's just kind of a joke how little I have done on this, but I really love this pattern and I do want to stitch it. And so whenever I go through my whips and try to see what I maybe could let go, I can't ever let this one go, even though I have barely anything done on it. I can't let it go because I love the chart. It's Plum Street Samplers, Nantucket Girls Sampler. It's all stitched in NPI, but I'm doing the DMC. And this is on a piece of 40 count Lakeside Linen Vintage Buttercream. This is like the creme de la creme of the Lakeside Linens. Vintage Buttercream, 40 count. It's beautiful. It's this beautiful golden neutral. And here's my tiny little start. It's so sad. But again, I can't let this one go because I do love this and I do want to stitch this. So I'm not going to ever get rid of that one, I don't think. But maybe I'll actually finally stitch on it. So this is another one that I feel like I could finish, and I should. This is Barbara Anna Snooty Parrot Sampler. And I started this as a stitch along with Betsy Clicker, and this was kind of, she was local to me. She's still local to me, but this kind of brought us together, and we finally like actually met up. So um, I am switching mine around. I'm doing a lot of changes to mine to make it like a Gilmore Girls theme. I'm stitching this on, what fabric is this? I'm not sure. It looks like, oh no, I remember. It's R&R 40 count in Stars Hollow. That's why I picked it, because the name was perfect. And I'm not using the called for floss. I'm using silks from my stash that are in the same tone. So it's the same like color. It's the same color scheme, but not the called for floss. So it's a really pretty gold. It's going to turn cooler as I come in. I've got one parrot done. I've got to get that other. So this is, I did some Gilmore Girls edits. I made Adam and Eve into Luke and Lorelai, and I changed the verse in the middle. And then I do have, I have some things charted for the bottom that are going to be a lot different. So it's got, there's this whole scene down here, and I've recharted this as like the gazebo from the town square, and a few other things. So I really need to get this done. I love this one. It's really beautiful as is. I love it because of the changes I've made, but it's just absolutely gorgeous with no changes. It's still beautiful. All right, what else do we have? What's next? Oh, okay. So this is Cottage Garden Sampling, Peace on Earth. This was a stitch along with Christine from Stitch All the Things and Sarah from Stitchology. But I think both of them finished theirs a long time ago. I'm using some of the called for floss, and otherwise I was just subbing things in from my stash that looked like to be the same tone. And I don't have very much left on this. I'm currently filling in this house, and then I just need to do the cardinal over here. This is a mystery linen. It's like a 32 count Zweigart, but I don't know the color. It's kind of a steel blue. This is, I just showed this in my last floss tube because I've actually worked on this recently. This is the Primitive Needle Witch's Hollow. This is my working copy. I have it tucked away over here in a safe, very safe spot. So this is a faded, didn't print very bright or accurate, but here's kind of what it looks like overall. And I'm stitching mine on 40 count Picture This Plus Murky with all the called for floss. This is an out of print chart. It is hard to find. Please do not ask me if you can have it. My next stitch along is the works of Jane Austen by Suburban and Ennui. I always struggle with that word, ennui. This was a stitch along back in 2018, and I did not finish it, but you can see it's a lot of stitching. It's a big project. I do really like working on this though. This is on a 36 count XJU Designs Fabric of the Month. I don't remember what the color is called, but it was something with mountain in it, and I'm not sure you could get it now anyway. Oh wait, here's the tag. Fabric of the Month for August 2018. The color is Dark Mountain. And I am down here on the second block. I've got Pemberley done, and that sure took a while. I love the way it looks on this fabric, and I need to get this done. So then my next project is the Primitive Hare. So she has free patterns on her blog, and she did a series of free patterns around the pagan holidays. And so I'll show you kind of what they're smalls that you can stitch up really quick. They look like this. These are free. If any of these catch your eye, go to her blog and you can get them. So what I did was I took these and then I designed, I did a layout where I put them all in like in a circle, in a wheel. So I then kind of got held up while I tried to figure out what I was going to put in the center, but I actually just a couple months ago finally went and charted something out. So I am ready to finish this because I have figured out what I'm going to put in the middle. But these are quick stitches. Each one takes like a day or two. Some I stitched in a day, some took 2. But here's where I'm at. So I need to put 2 more in, and then I need to put my center design in here. This would be an easy finish. I think I could finish this with like a couple of days of dedication. Then I have the Primitive Needle Blacked Sky. This is also, all of the Primitive Needle charts are out of print and can be not just hard to find, but can be really expensive. So I'm stitching mine on 36 count pictures. No, 36 count X2 designs. I think it was another fabric of the month. And I think the color might've been called Cinnamon Roll. I left myself pretty tight margins, but it will fit. And here's where I'm at. I have the first block done and the top border done, and I'm on to that second block. Just a heads up, if anybody's stitching this, there is a little, you need to pay attention to this top border. These diamonds are 2 spaces apart, except for at some point, one of them is 3 spaces. And then maybe 2 points, there's 3 spaces in between. And I didn't notice, I was just stitching away, and then somebody else pointed that out. So I had to go in and make my 3 spaces somewhere else, just so that my border would be the right length. So just heads up if anyone's stitching that, watch out for that. This is another one that I have such a small little sad start on it, but I do love the pattern and I do still want to stitch it. So I'm not giving up on this. This is Samplers and Stories Herbal Grimoire. Another one that I really think doesn't have that much stitching and I could probably get it done really quick. This is on 40 count X2 designs in the color Dark Sand. And here is my sad little start. The camera does not like that. Yep, it's about that color. So then I have Blackbird Designs Away We Ride. And I am stitching this with all of the called for floss on a 36 count R&R linens and the Plum Street blend, which is very beautiful. I really like this color. It's a gold neutral, but it has just a little hint of green, like the tiniest hint of green to it. Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate. And I've just got the house started. I've got Barbara Anna Rampant Cats Sampler. I'm stitching this with the called for DMC, but I am stitching this on a 30 count or 32 count Jobelin that I tea and coffee dyed myself. And it looks like this. I tea coffee dyed and I baked it because you can see where I scorched it in the oven a little bit up there. It's that color. The call for DMC on this is really good. Very autumnal. All right, and my last WIP from 2018 is another Primitive Needle. This is Salem Remembered. This is my working copy, but this is what it looks like. I'm stitching this on 40 count Primitive Hair Old New England or Old Massachusetts whichever one is the 40 count. And I am using floss from Stash, and I have quite a small little start on this. This one stitches really fast, so I've seen people like knock this one out really quick. It's not that much stitching. I just haven't gotten to it in a while. All right, so now we're into 2019. So this is one I also haven't stitched on in a really long time. This is Quiltify Designs All Souls Veerlanden. This is a black and white printout from it's an Etsy. I got it off Etsy. I love all the skulls that are hidden in this Veerland style sampler. I am stitching mine on, this looks like a Lakeside Linens Vintage Buttercream. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, this is 40 count Vintage Buttercream. And I'm using a DMC color variations in the color 4522, which goes from like black to gold to navy to green. It's really cool. It reminds me of like a peacock kind of color. And that's how much I've done on that, which is not very much. This is one I definitely plan to finish soon, and I feel like I'm close. I'm very close. This is Stone Street Stitch Works Bookhouse. I'm not using the called for floss. I just converted to stuff in my stash, and I really changed some of the colors. This is a 36 count XJU Designs linen in the color Dark Desert. And it's a small pattern, and I've already got this much done. So I just need to do the other book tree and then finish the words at the top. This is what color it is. Okay. The Blue Flower Quilting Bee. This was an extremely popular pattern at Market in 2019. I am not using the called for colors because I didn't have them. So I just used stuff from my stash. This is XJU Designs 40 count linen in the color Gold Sand, which is a very pretty linen. This is such a pretty pattern. I've got the bee's butt done almost. I love this pattern. This is Quaker Gone Haunted by Michelle Inc. And I'm using the called for floss on this one, and I'm stitching this on a Color and Cotton. That year Color and Cotton had a Halloween box, and so this doesn't really have a name. It's just limited edition. It's a 36 count. But it was in the Halloween box that year. It's a really cool fabric, and everybody's was a little different, but this one has like splotches of purple and blue. I think if you got different counts, it wasn't necessarily this colorway, but isn't that cool? I love this. And here's where I'm at on this with all the called for colors. I thought I had more done than that. Oh well. Now my friend Melissa did tell me that you need, what did she say? I think she said you're going to use more than one on some of the colors, but I can't remember which colors, so oh well. I'll have to figure it out when I get there. This is Plum Street Samplers Peace, Love, and Purpose. I got this as a kit from Country Sampler. So I'm using all the called fors that came with the kit. It's a 36 count picture this plus Wren and a bunch of fancy floss. And here's where I'm at. Got the tulips in, well, half of them. There's more over here. And then I just need to fill in all that. So I think I always save this one as like, oh, I just have a lot of fill-in. Like this will be great for a retreat or a stitchy meetup where I don't have to focus. I can just do that fill-in. A lot of fill-in. Okay, Mirabilia Cathedral Woods Goddess. I've seen this one in person, like someone had finished it and it was at my LNS, like on the on the table. Just oh, it's amazing in person. I mean, every Mirabilia is way better in person, but this one has so much Kreinik, like more, I would say more than any other Mirabilia I have. This one has so much metallic sparkle to it, which you just can't get in a photograph, but in real life, it's incredible. I'm stitching mine on Picture This Plus. I think it's a 28. It feels like a 28 count. It feels big. Yeah. No, it says 32 count. It sure feels like whatever. Anyway, it's in the color Gossamer, which is this pale limey color. And there's where I'm at on her. And like I said, she is sparkly. Blackbird Designs, Merrily, Merrily We Welcome Spring. This is a big pattern. She is big. I am stitching this with, I think, all of the called for colors. I think I had them all, or I maybe subbed out one or two. Yeah, this is 273 by 275. I would have thought it was over 300, so maybe it's not as big as I think. Anyway, I think it's all the called for colors. I had bought a Lakeside Linens online, so I sight unseen, you know, I thought I was getting something. It was a pinkish color. I can't even remember what the name was. I think it was something with rose in it. And when it arrived, it was like baby pale pink, but it was pink. It was just too pink. So I did like a quick tea dye with this to tone it down, and that brought it to a peachy pink. So this is how that fabric looks now. And here's what I have on Merrily, Merrily We Welcome Spring. I was trying to get all the colors in, I think, to make sure they were working. So, and then I would do like a length and then go down and do a new color. But I think I got all the colors in. And they look fine. Here is another Quiltify Designs. I couldn't resist. I got the All Souls band, which is similar to the Veerland, but long and skinny. I'm stitching this on a 40 count Under the Sea Fabrics in the color Heaven's Fury. I think it's 40 count. It looks like it. Look at that fabric. Whoa. And I'm using the DMC 115, which I think is discontinued. I don't think you can get this anymore. It's a really pretty variegated red. And that's how it's looking. Okay, so Lakeside Needlecraft Spooky Halloween. This was, I was watching somebody on Instagram stories. They were at a retreat and they were showing like the brag table, and somebody had stitched this and it was on the brag table. And I took a screenshot and I sent it to my friend Amy and I said, do you have any idea what this pattern is? And she knew because she's like, she's who I ask because she usually knows if I don't. So she said, yep. And I think I have that pattern. So it's Lakeside Needlecraft Spooky Halloween. So then we decided we were going to stitch it together. And she finished hers and I did not finish mine. This is 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself, and I'm using the called for flosses. Look at that. Ooh, looks cool. And it was stitching up really fast. Look at that. It has neon fluorescent and then glow in the dark. It's amazing. It's amazing. Blackbird Designs at First Cock's Crow. This is in the book Sisters, which I have, but I made a working copy so that I didn't have to beat my book up. That's a really good book. I love everything in that book. This is a color in cotton in the color Sampler Gold. And it's a 40 count. And I'm not using the called for colors because I didn't have them. So I'm just using things from Stash that look the same colors more or less. That's really washing out the gold. When I zoom in, it looks like that. There's that. Look how little it's little. It looks like it's gonna be like a decent size, but on 40, like that looks like a good size sampler, right? But on 40 count, look at how tiny it is. The printout's bigger than the actual sampler. This one, however, is not little, not at all. This is humongous. This is 343 by 227, Stacy Nash. Halloween at Hollyberry Farm. That is a big, big, big pattern. And this one, I know a lot of people have stitched this or wanted to stitch this and been really disappointed. The called for colors don't look like this at all. Unfortunately, they don't. On the cover photo, it's almost like this blackish blue in the border. But what it actually calls for is just like a regular kind of black. It doesn't have that blue tone to it at all. So I ended up dyeing my own floss to try to kind of like replicate that look. And then I dyed this linen myself as well. And I believe it's a 36 count. I'm really happy with how my linen turned out. Look at that. It was exactly what I wanted. I wanted like a deep bluish with like orangey charcoal splotches, and that's what I got. And here's how far I am, which is not far. Not far on such a huge pattern. And then I started Prairie Moon. Thine is the trick and the treat. This is my working copy because this was also really hard to find. Although now you can buy this as a PDF from Prairie Moon. So there's the chart. I'm stitching this with the most beautiful Classic Colorworks Belle Soie silk. It's called Plush Plum. It's so pretty. It's like, oh, look at that. Such a beautiful floss. And I'm stitching this on 40 count Picture This Plus in the color Velt, which is also one of my favorite fabrics. It's a greenish neutral. And here's where I'm at on that. I think I only stitched on this for, yeah, that's what Velt looks like. I only stitched on this for 2 days. So that's my progress on that. Mirabilia Baker's Wife. When I saw this pattern, it was like, I just loved it so much. Immediately bought it and kitted it up and started it. I love this pattern. So this is Baker's Wife, and I'm stitching mine on a 28 count crystal linen in the color Flapper from Picture This Plus. I'm trying to tell which way this goes. I think it goes this way. So I started in the center. So that's like the top of her chest and then down into her bodice. Look at that linen. I love this linen. there's that. I like stitching Mirabilias. They seem like a lot of work, but to me, they stitch up really fast. And although some of them can get a little bit into the confetti, often it's chunks of color. So I don't know. I find them very satisfying to stitch. However, I will say I have to have I have to highlight as I stitch. I have to highlight my stitches because they're so dense sometimes. Okay, so Anne Thomas 1854 from Hands Across the Sea. This is another one that I could not buy and kit up and start fast enough. I remember I started this like the day I got it. I'm using all the called for DMC, which is a lot of colors. And I'm stitching this on, this is Under the Sea Fabrics. It's a 40 count, and I think the color is called Boardwalk, and it's a really pretty neutral. And I started in the center, and there's my pigeon. Look at that. This one is so, the DMC on this, look at that. Because I think it's charted with NPI, but I would say don't even wait. I shouldn't say waste your money, but I wouldn't even go buy all that. Look at the DMC. Look how good that looks. Just do the DMC. All right, Witchy Stitcher Chopping Mall Stitch Along. Whew, this one is, for her, this is an especially large pattern. This is a really big pattern. This is a bad, I wrote on this picture, so just some notes to myself, so kind of ignore my notes there at the bottom, but this is kind of what it looks like. I think that's yeah, that's the finished one, but I've like crossed things out and written notes because I'm doing changes. So here's what happened. I think the pattern is brilliant. It's brilliant. I think everything the Witchy Stitcher does is brilliant. I have nothing against the pattern. However, I don't know what I was thinking when I committed to this stitch along, because I don't watch scary movies or horror movies. So I'm not sure why I mean, the design was so good. I think I was just like, yeah, I'm in. And then I was like, I don't even know these movies. I don't watch these movies. So, it kind of just sat in timeout for a long time. And then people were tweaking it and including their favorite scary movies or horror movies and posting on the Witchy Stitcher Facebook group, like their edits. And so I collected some of those. And so I finally have figured out what I want to do with this, where it's meaningful to me and that it's movies that I know. Because I did know some of the movies and kept them, but there were some that I was like, I've never seen that movie. So then I would swap in something I had seen. And I do like a little bit of horror, but I don't like slashers. So, you know, for example, like one of the edits, somebody did Lost Boys, which I love that movie. So I took out one of the movies I didn't know and I put in the Lost Boys. I haven't stitched that yet though. So here's where I'm at on this. This is a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. And these 3 rooms were actually as charted, but I actually, because I knew these movies. So it's Michael Myers, Halloween, Chucky, Bride of Chucky, and then Freddy Krueger. So if I ever can get back to this, I've gone in and I've charted all the changes. And now I'm excited about it because I'm like, oh, I know, now it makes sense to me for movies I know. So then I had joined the Ingleside Imaginarium Stitch Along Kaluna Brightburn's Catalog for Witches Familiars. And this, I got quite a bit done on this before I kind of lost my, I kept up for a while and then I didn't. I love this pattern though. I love and adore this pattern. I love every single little thing about this pattern. And I have, like I said, I have a good bit done. I have 5 of the 12 parts done. This is a 40 count, I think it's a Victorian motto linen that Amy gifted me. So one off, couldn't tell you what color it was. Mirabilia Lilith of Labrador. This was another one that I bought and kitted up immediately. This is my one and only Mirabilia mermaid. I love the mermaids, actually. I think I love a lot of the mermaids more than the pretty ladies. I just haven't gotten around to them. This is a Crosswing Collections fabric. It's a 28 count. I don't know exactly. The color is something like deep sea, something like that. I don't have very much done on this. Ooh, that fabric is pretty. It's showing up spot on. There's my piddly little start. Okay, and then my last WIP from 2019, because I started this on December 31st of 2019, because it's from Linen. It's the Linen and Threads, which is now Fox and Rabbit, but Linen and Threads 2020 mystery sampler, which because they're in Australia, they're like a day ahead of us. So when they released this for 2020, it was still New Year's Eve here. So I did start this on New Year's Eve. So here's the overall. It's just a black and white, but you could do it in any colors you chose. But here's what the overall Quaker sampler looks like. And I did keep up with this for a while, and then I kind of fell off. I'm doing this on a 40 count mallow fabric, which is a linen flax blend from Zweigart. I really like it. It's even weave. It has like an oatmeal texture to it, and it's really good to stitch on. I'm using DMC color variations in the color 4240, which is this blurple color. And here is where I'm at on this. So I've reached the bottom. I think I got to April, and then I kind of dropped off. I need to get back to that and get that done. Noah finished that one. Okay, so now we are into 2020. So this is a stitch along with my friend Amy. This, but we both haven't worked on this in at least a year, I would say. We were doing really good with it for a while. This is a really old chart from R&R Reproductions. It's called Designer's Motif Sampler. I think it's from 1997. And I actually had gotten this at my craft thrift store. And I bought the chart like this. And then when I got home, there were actually two. There were 2 copies in the one. And even the second one even had the charm and everything. So I got 2 copies for the price of 1. I am stitching this on, I believe this is a 36 count Zweigart linen in the color Platinum, I believe. And I'm using the called for DMC colors. And I left myself no margin at all up here. And here's where I'm at. I got kind of stuck on the over 1 verse, but I'm almost done. I am almost done with that over 1. I'm much further than Amy, that's for sure. This is from Cross Stitcher Magazine. This is the Alice, I think it's called, it's called The Adventures of Alice Stitch Along. And this is not the full pattern. The pattern's done now. This is the border, which came first, and then some have been filled in, but obviously it's concluded now, so there's a lot more than this. These stitch up really fast. The border is incredibly tedious. There's some very, very, very intricate back stitch in here, which is really annoying. But the boxes themselves, these stitch up in a day, like a day tops. They're really quick. I'm using all the called for DMC on Picture This Plus 32 count linen in the color Legacy. And I have 5 parts completed on this. So like I said, the border, I hate the border, but I do enjoy stitching the inner bits, although it's a ton of back stitch even on those as well. So they're a little bit tedious, but at least they're quick. But I think it's the border that's like holding me back from getting back. I mean, look at this. Look at this. It's not it's not easy back stitch. You have to really count and pay really close attention. It's very tedious. The effect is amazing. It looks awesome. This is my Mill Hill Halloween Village. So I have 1 completed, but I have, I'm going to stitch 9 of these on this piece of fabric that I dyed myself. It's a 32 count fabric. So this is Haunted Library. And then the next one, that's really a finish, but because I'm going to do 9 on 1 piece, it's also in my whips. So the next one I'm going to do is Opera House. I've got that ready to go. This is one I definitely need to finish. This is Kissa Creations, Things I Know for Certain. This is a Practical Magic pattern. You can get this on her Etsy. So Things I Know for Certain. Oh, sorry. And it's Kissa Creations on Etsy. So I'm using this was a fabric that Diana, It Is Kismet, had gifted to me that she dyed. And then I'm using like Color and Cotton random flosses for mine. So I have the top done with the words. And then I'm down on these little witches, which are intense. Like each witch is, I think, 1,000 stitches or more. And I have to do 6 of them, and I'm still on the first one. So yeah. It's a little, but if you just outline them, then it's just fill in. So anyway, I love this. I love this pattern, and I need to finish this. And I love Marissa. Marissa is the designer behind Kissa Creation. And she does floss tubes sometimes, not super frequently, but she does do floss tubes. Actually, I think she did just do one not very long ago. So then I have Not Forgotten Farm, Sisters of the Broom. This is a very bad picture. Her charts and patterns are so great. I love so many of her designs, but her chart photos do not do justice. They don't. They just don't do justice to how pretty her patterns are. So this is a 40 count Picture This Plus in the color Mire. And I think I'm using all the called for DMC. And this, I love this fabric. And this should stitch up, this stitches up really quick. I mean, I did this in like 2 days, I think. I just need to sit down and knock this one out. I think I could do this in less than a week if I would just sit down and do it. This is probably my favorite pattern that Michelle at Bendy Stitchy has done. Although I love so many of her patterns, and I've stitched so many of her patterns, but I love this one so much. This is Rolodex Morning Sampler. And I am doing, excuse me, I'm doing, I had some of the called for floss, and then some of them I didn't have the color exactly, so I just used something like really similar from my stash. And this is also 40 count Picture This Plus Mire. This is from the same piece of fabric. And here's where I'm at on this. So I have the gate done, and I'm just getting into that big tree. It looks so good on this fabric. I love it. I did have to change the green on the Weeping Willow because so that it would show up, but yeah. It's still in the spirit of Michelle's like charted colors. This is another so many of these that I'm showing you. I'm not even mentioning all the people I'm stitching along with because I'm forgetting or whatever, but I know for sure I started this one with my friend Amy. This is Kathy Barrick, AH to EE, and Amy has finished and framed hers. As I have not. I'm stitching this on R&R fabric, antique cotton 40 count. This is such a beautiful fabric. Actually, this fabric to me looks almost identical to vintage buttercream from Lakeside Linens. So if you're looking for a good substitute, try antique cotton from R&R. I'm using a Threadworks floss and the color is 1154. It's got, well, here, I'll just show you the floss. It's really pretty. It goes like, it's like a kind of a peacocky, like it goes from green to navy to brown. And that does show. I don't know if you can see on camera, but in real life, you can definitely see a little bit of that variegation. So I started in the top corner and that's all I have done on that. And Amy has finished hers. That's how fun this was for, according to Amy, that's how fun this was to stitch because she knocked this thing out quick. I love Kathy Barrick. She is one of my favorites. I just love that woman. This is Paper Crane Stitches, Rose Apothecary, I think is what the name of the pattern is. This is, yeah, Rose Apothecary. So Catherine is the designer at Paper Crane Stitches, and I got this off of her Etsy. And this is the Rose Apothecary from the show Schitt's Creek. And down here at the bottom, it says Simply the Best. So if you watch the show, that will make sense to you. I'm stitching this on a 32 count linen from Ship's Manor called Cloud Shapes. I've got the roof done. now I've got to get into that building, but I got that roof done, which was a lot. Look at that though. It looks amazing. Look at that brickwork. Took a long time. It was a lot of work because just you have to be very, exact with the brick, but look at the, I mean, that's incredible, right? Look how good that looks. And now it's mostly just outline and then fill in. Like I just need to do my outline and then fill in the building and the windows. But that is looking absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. Oh, I started this one with my friend Victor, and Amy also started this with us. So this was a stitch along for Christmas in July in the year 2020. This is Sarah Guermani Wicked Christmas. So this chart's very interesting because it's Christmas, but it's also witchy. So it's like a Halloween Christmas, and we started stitching it in July for Christmas in July. Big, it's a very big chart. It's just a DMC, and I'm stitching this on a 40 count that I dyed myself. And I actually have a really good start. I went right down into those buildings so I could get some of that out of the way because those buildings are big blocks of stitching. Look at that. Got a lot of white stitches done on that. It's a really fun chart, but a big chart, a very big chart. This chart is just stunning. This is Jane Fittis, 1835 from Hands Across the Sea. I think this chart is underrated. I've seen a lot of people stitch it, and I see it talked about here and there, but I don't think it's like one of her more popular charts, but I think it is one of her most beautiful charts by far. So it's a Scottish sampler, and it is so pretty. So I am stitching mine on, I have no idea. Let me see. Hopefully I wrote it down. Nope, no idea. I think, you know what? I'm pretty sure this was a color in cotton, but I don't know what the color is called. And I am, no, this was a Picture This Plus, but I still don't know what the color is called. It's Picture This Plus. No idea. And I'm not using the called for flosses. I'm using silks from Stash, but I tried to make them the same color so it will still look like the chart. And here's where I'm at on this. Look at that. It's so pretty. I love this chart, but I have not worked on it in a while, if I'm being honest. This is, this chart, I remember when Liz released this chart, Quaker Pumpkins by Hello from Liz Matthews. And I like bought, kitted, and started it as soon as I could. I love this chart. This chart is awesome. So I'm using all the called for colors. This is a Picture This Plus 40 count or 36 count, and I believe the color is Legacy, I believe. So it looks like that. And that's where I'm at. I started in the center. Oh, this chart, this is such a good chart too. So this is Mirabilia Sleeping Beauty. This is an out of print chart. This was the 5th Mirabilia chart. So this is Mirabilia Designs number 5. So this chart is from way back when. Copyright 1994. It is out of print. It is very hard to find and can be very expensive. And this chart was gifted to me from Helen D, East Coast Crafter. She found a whole bunch of Mirabilias at like a thrift store, and I think she said maybe it was 99 cents. And so she knew someone would want it, so she grabbed it, and then she gifted it to me. So I am going to name this beautiful lady Helen in honor of Helen D. It doesn't look like Helen, but she's still going to be called Helen. So I'm stitching her on Picture This Plus 28 count Cyprium, which is going to seem like a pretty wild choice, but I had done like the fabric viewer website which by the way, if you don't know about this, let me like tell you this tip from me to you. If you like to stitch the pretty ladies, Mirabilia, Bella Filipina, I can't think of all the other ones right now. If you like to stitch those kind of charts, you need to get an account with fabricviewer.com. It's free. You have to register, but it's free. And you can go in and pick the Mirabilia you want to stitch, and then you can pick all these different fabrics where you can see what your pretty lady would look like on that color of fabric. Because a lot of times with these charts, they show it to you on just a really kind of plain fabric. And sometimes it can be hard to picture in your mind, like what would she look like on like a pinkish fabric or a blue fabric? It can be hard to know that. So this will actually do a mock-up for you. They have a whole bunch of fabric dyers that you can pick from, but even if you can't find the fabric, like for example, if you have a fabric in Stash that you really want to know how it would look, but you don't see it listed on their website, you can still pick something that's like the similar color, and then you can get in there and do like a mock-up and kind of see how it's going to look. And so all of that, long story to say, I am stitching my Sleeping Beauty on a bold fabric choice, but it's because I did the fabric viewer and it looked freaking awesome. So it's this really deep, like brown, gold, orangey color. Just trust me. I don't have the mock-up anymore. It looks great. It looks great on this. And I started in the center, and it's just the called for DMC. So there's she's big. I needed a fat half. She wouldn't fit on a fat quarter. She's She's a big girl. She is, oh, sorry, I'm just blind. She's 240 by 260 stitch count. So then I am stitching Leela's Studio Halloween Quaker. Love this. I am stitching this on 40 count. Picture this plus Murky. And I think I'm using all the called for colors. I have a decent start on this. And that's really fun to stitch. Michelle at Bendy Stitchy was doing a Halloween Quaker Zoom for a while, but then she finished hers, so she's not doing it anymore. Okay, so then I have Lenarte African Woman. This is a kit. The kit is called African Woman. It comes with all the, I think it's just DMC, but it's a print, there's a printed fabric, and it's like a 27 count even weave. I think she's so pretty. And they actually have a few like women of color in kits. And I think like these two, this one and this one, I love. But they're so pretty. This is actually really fun to stitch, although it's very intense because this is like heavy confetti. I mean, look at her face. Look how many colors are in there. So it's a lot, but it's fun. I just have to like highlight the chart so I can keep my place. But it's been really fun to stitch. So this is the printed fabric. So here's kind of what the fabric looks like. Just it's a subtle print to it, nothing too crazy. And here's where I'm at. I think I just started in the center. So I've got the bottom of her face done, and then I moved over into the background. And some of the background is just like half stitches. No, those are all full stitches. I think there's some half stitches somewhere. But it's pretty intense. It's a lot of stitching, but it looks really good. And it's actually fun to stitch. Mirabilia Santa's Magic. This is my snow day project, and I will just own up now. I totally fell off the wagon on my snow day projects in 2022. So what happened first of all was we got barely any snow through November and December, and then we did finally start to get some snow, and things were going on that I just couldn't get to Santa. So I did not do my snow day stitching like I should have. This Santa came as a kit, so I'm using all the called for floss and the called for fabric, which I think is 32 count desert sand from Witchelt. And here is Santa. Look how much I have done on him, even though I didn't work on him this year. And I did convert my Santa's skin tone, so he's a black Santa, but otherwise everything is the called for. And I did mostly what I did this season when I did work on him, I did all of this hat and up into his head. Like I've done all of this the last few times I worked on him. He's really fun to work on too. There's a lot of confetti and color changing, but I don't know. It's just very satisfying to see it coming together. Lindy Stitches Dracula's Confession. This is a fun chart because it comes in two versions. So I think she couldn't decide which one she liked the best, so she released both of them. And most people went with this version, but I wanted to be a little contrary, so I went with the long version down at the bottom. I am stitching this with the called for floss because I remember I bought the floss pack from Stephanie at Lindy Stitches. And this is a 32 count fabric from Fortnite Fabrics. And I believe the color is called Deep Fried, which is this really cool, like darker brown. And that's where I'm at on Dracula's Confession, which is not very far. Not very far at all. Ooh, this is a very popular stitch, and I need to just finish this. I am so close to being done. This is Autumn Lane Stitchery Dark Queen of the Sea, and this was a stitch along in 2020, and all of my friends have finished her. I'm stitching her on the 32 count Bewitched fabric from Under the Sea that was specific for this stitch along. Isn't that beautiful? And all I need to do is finish this tentacle down here on the bottom. See, I've got this side done. I need to get this side done. So I just need to do the tentacle, and then there's a ton of back stitch. And then I do need to do her coral antlers and her crown. I still need to add those. But there is Dark Queen of the Sea. She is totally like finishable, and I need to finish her. My whips fell over. This is Satsuma Street Otoño. Matt at NBC Stitcher got me onto these patterns. He was doing the spring. I think he was doing the spring one. This is the autumn. They're just so pretty. I had to break down and do it. I'm using the called for colors, which are mostly DMC color variations. And this is a 30 count that I dyed myself. There's where I'm at on that. It's a really pretty pattern. If you have these DMC color variations and you don't know what to do with them, these Satsuma Street seasons, I think, use all of them. Like the winter one is like a blue, more blue, but I think they use all of like the whole range. If you want to use those, they're great flosses, but it's hard to know like what to use them for. Okay, so this next one is Lindy Stitches Dumpster Fire Friends Forever. This is what it looks like. And my friend Amy and I are stitching this for each other. And to keep this like fun, we decided like to not show each other, like we know we're stitching it for the other, but to not show each other like fabric and floss choices. So Amy, you need to look away so you don't know what I'm doing. And honestly, there's like really no reason we shouldn't have finished these by now. It's a really small, but it's not a lot of stitching. Like there's like no excuse. So Amy, don't look. All right, so there's my, I need to just finish this. Okay, you can look now. This is Modern Folk Embroidery Real Comfort, a Jane Austen sampler. And I am stitching mine on a Barbarol Creations 38 count linen in the color Beige Desert. And I'm using Dinky Dye's Vintage Newsprint Silk, which is basically just black. It's mostly black. And here's where I'm at on this. It stitches up really fast. I did all of that in like a weekend. I remember I was binging Jane Austen movies and stitching. Actually, I think it was, you know what it was? It was Thanksgiving weekend, because that's why I'm stitching that with black floss, because we did a blackout stitch along for Black Friday. This is Ink Circle's Dog's Declaration. This is a chart that I always wanted to stitch for Lincoln, but I also always had, I think in the back of my head, I felt like I wouldn't ever finish it before we lost Lincoln, which ended up being true. So maybe I just like didn't want to work on it because I was afraid I would get kind of far into it, and then we might lose him, and then I wouldn't be able to look at it again or something. I don't know. It's a weird mental block. Here's the good news. It doesn't make me sad, and I want to stitch on it. So that's good, right? It doesn't, I mean, it's going to make me think of him, and it'll be like a memorial to him, but it doesn't make me sad. The thought of stitching on this is not sad. It says life, liberty, and the pursuit of squirrels. And, you know, Lincoln's main goal in life was to catch a squirrel, which he never did. A squirrel or a bunny. He would have taken any. I'm stitching this with the called for Valdani flosses, which are, they're cotton and they're over dyed. They're really pretty. There's a bunch of them. And I'm stitching this on 46 count Under the Sea fabrics, and the color is Properly Primitive. And I started this with my friend Matt, NBC Stitcher. So I chose the RBG needle minder because it made me think of Matt, because Matt is a lawyer. And that's my tiny little start. And like I said, I did have some kind of mental block where I never wanted to work on this, but maybe now I can. Leela's Studio, Nevermore. Love this pattern. This is such a good pattern. I'm stitching this with the called for, I think it's all the called for floss. Yeah, it is. Called for floss. This is a Color and Cotton 40 count fabric of the month. It was the September 2020 color Prairie Dust. And here is my sad little start. Well, it's not that sad. It's quite a lot, really. There's that. And then I started Primitive Hair, The Old Winter. And I'm using the called for DMC. And I'm using her called for snowflake. It's called White Flakes, and it's a printed snowflake linen. So this is the linen. It's this beautiful print. And I think it's a 30 count. And then that's what I've got stitched. We're almost through 2020. We have one more. So this is a Bendy Stitchy Drama Llama sampler. Looks like this. Copying my friend Noah Stitches, and using like a crazy fabric for this because he did it and it looked really good. This fabric is intense. This is Fortnite Fabrics in the color Luminous Warmth. It's a 40 count and it's called Luminous Warmth, and it is like neon. Look at that. Pow! It's like neon yellow. And I'm using like 2 color and cottons, and that's all I've got done. Yeah. I know, that's kind of a sad start. All right, we're into 2021. Whew. So for my birthday, January 29th of 2021, I started Bella Filipina Bellatrix. Oh, that's so pretty. She has a lot of like dense block stitching, but it's very comforting. I'm stitching her on a 32 count X-Jude in Witchy Pink, which this fabric is awesome. Look at it. Ooh. And I'm in her dress. And it's a lot. It is a lot of dress. But like I said, she's fun to stitch because you just oh, there's a hair on there. You just like outline and then fill. So you just like, you know, trace your little outline and then fill it in and then go to your next color. and do like block colors. Starting another pile. I have such a mess over here. All right, new bin. We're ready for a new bin. Okay, so then I started Meridian cross stitch. Kristen or Christine, not sure how to say it. The Arctic Mermaid. Look at this. Oh, it's so pretty. It's a mermaid of color and she thick. Look how pretty she is. Oh, she's so pretty. This is Color and Cotton 28 count periwinkle. I'm trying to figure out which way she goes. I think she goes this way, but I might have her upside down. So there's the linen, really pretty. And then I started in the center. She either goes like this or she goes like this, but either way. Yeah, I think she goes like this. So yes, this body is very similar to my linen color, but she's like, there's enough outline, there'll be enough outlining around her that it should be okay. But because I haven't like finished up here, you can see it's kind of like blending into the fabric here. But I think at the end of the day, it'll look great. Oh, the Witchy Stitcher Guardian of the Woods Leshy. I love this pattern. I think she has, this is a whole series. She has a few. She did Baba Yaga, I think, and Kikimora. I don't know if she has any more coming, but this is Leshy. And this is on a 32 count X Jude fabric in the color Elixir, which, like that witchy pink, it's the same like style, but it's green instead of pink, which is awesome. Look at that. That's just DMC. I love that. And then I had started the Alforest embroidery Baba Yaga, which was a kit. It came with the fabric and the floss. And I've finished the sister kit to this, which was Father Mushroom. These are quick. They're quick little stitches. Like they're quite, see, look, they're little. They fit in an 8x8 frame. So there is where I'm at with Baba Yaga. And then also from Alforest Embroidery, I had started their free stitch along for the year in 2021. They hosted, and it didn't start till like May, so it wasn't like a year-long stitch along. But in May of 2021, they started their Alice in Wonderland free stitch along. And I was doing great. I was really keeping up for a while, but it is now completed and I am back on part 9. So, but here's what we've got. This is the called for floss, which is the Alforest floss. And this is 40 count vintage country mocha. And I'm at the bottom. So almost like half done. Not quite, but getting there. But it actually, each piece stitches up really fast. And I just actually went just a couple days ago and printed off all the rest of them so that I can kind of maybe make that a focus and get that finished. Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, they get me with their stitch alongs. I really try. I try not to join, but every so often they get me with one. And last year they got me with the Cozy Cafe Club. This is now finished. I don't know why I don't have the final part. Maybe I need to go print that off. So this is Cozy Cafe Club. It's just I think it's all like DMC floss. And I'm stitching mine on a 20 count Petty Point gray Aida. And that's where I got. I was even optimistic enough that I was going to finish this that I put 2021 on there. Because I really felt like at some point, I felt like I was going to do this. I know at some point I was caught up. And so I must have been feeling real good that I was going to stay caught up. Didn't happen. Then I started, this was my Al Forrest phase. I went through an Al Forrest embroidery phase, like big time. So this is, I'm trying to get it out of the package. Okay, this is Enchanted Forest. This is another kit, but it's a big size. So it comes with all the floss and the fabric. So this is Enchanted Forest on the fabric that they sent with all the floss. And I have a lot done on this. I didn't even think I had this much done. I feel like that's quite a lot. Look at me. I didn't remember getting this far. There's that. Their patterns are super fun to stitch, I will say. They're very fun. Then I have Al Forrest. This one was Alexis made me start this. This is Queen of Hearts. So I'm stitching along with Alexis from Alexis My Amazing World. This was a kit, but you can't get it, like, they haven't sold the kit in ages. So you can get the pattern and then kit it up yourself. So it calls for a bunch of like Swarovskis and stuff, which actually I need to get a hold of Alexis. Because if I remember right, she tracked them down and she had enough of each one that she was going to give me the ones that I need. So anyway, I'm using the Al Forrest floss, and then it calls for a couple DMC metallics. And then I've got to figure out like the bead situation. I'm stitching this on a 32 count Vintage Country Mocha Jobelin even weave. And wow, I love this pattern. This is coming out so pretty. But that dress is it's a lot of dress. It's a lot of dress. I'm just getting into it. Look at that. Pow. But it's a really nice pattern. That red, oh, look at that red. Ooh, ooh. They sent 2 skeins of this red. Look at this red. Oh, it's so pretty. That's like a perfect red right there. Perfect. I started this with Amy. This is Plum Street Samplers, Miss Bingley's library. It says, I shall be miserable if I have not an excellent library. I don't think I'm using much. I might be using a couple of the called for colors, but I think I was just kind of using stuff from Stash that made sense for the fabric. The fabric is 40 count XG design in the color Light Nugget. And I made my girl a redhead so she would look like me. I started in the middle and then worked over and then went up and started stitching fun stuff because the house is going to be a lot of fill-in. Primitive Hair Pride and Prejudice sampler. This comes as two varieties, variations, or you can do them like the center couple, Jane and Darcy. I mean Lizzie and Darcy. You can do them white or dark. That's not 310. I think it's like 3371 is. It looks like it might be black, but it's like a dark brown. I believe. Anyway. That's what I decided to do. This was a 40 count linen that I found at the shop in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which is closed now. It was called U Count. The owner passed away last year from COVID, and the shop is closed now. So, but I'm stitching. So this linen was, I found at her shop, and it's called Shadowbrook, but I have no idea who made it. It's really pretty. And this is, I'm obviously doing the 3371 version. And that's my little start. I got Lizzie outlined. Once you get the figures done, it should be a pretty quick stitch, except for the title, Pride and Prejudice. Look at all that fill in as well. We'll see. Maybe I won't fill that in. We'll see how I feel when I get there. Okay, so then I started Mirabilia Halloween Fairy. So I bought this as a kit, but I was really disappointed in all the floss that came in this kit. It was all, so this kit originally was created like quite some time ago. And it was when Classic Colorworks was Crescent Colors. And just over the years, the colors just really changed. So they did kit it up with all the colors, but like they were all really faded. Like the pumpkin orange was like a sherbet orange color. I ended up having to swap almost every single color out because they didn't look right. They didn't look like the cover. So, and then I got a little creative with the dress, and I decided if I'm just changing it anyway, then instead of doing the dress in this kind of brownish, I made her dress purple just because I wanted to make it purple. So, this is that 32 count XG Designs in the color Elixir. And this is where I'm at with her dress. And that's how the purple conversion is looking. And Amy is about to finish her, and I am not. Also started with Amy is 1816 Veerland Sampler. This is from a magazine. Let me see if I wrote it down. It's the, yes, I did. Okay, so it's the Sampler and Needlework Quarterly Summer 2015 and Fall 2015 issues, which you can get online. So it was part 1 in the summer issue and part 2 in the fall issue. And this sampler is enormous, but it's so beautiful. So I'm stitching this on a 46 count tea-dyed linen, and I'm using a deep emerald green floss called, from Classic Colorworks, called Erin Go Emerald. So it'll be like a deep emerald green. And I have a tiny little start. But so I had to make sure mine would fit. I have very tight margins here. That is less than an inch probably. Maybe an inch, maybe about an inch. So I started in the center and then I worked over to make sure it would fit. I have enough lengthwise, it was just the width. And this is a 46 count, and I just didn't want to have to get a fat half. So I was like, I'm going to make it fit on a fat quarter. Well, I'm not going to have a lot, but it's going to fit. That's a lifetime project. It's not going to be done anytime soon. All right, Witchy Stitcher Cryptid Stitch Along. I don't have a picture of like the whole overall, but this was a stitch along where we would get little pieces every so often, and it's now completed. But I am not completed. This is on 40 count color and cotton and the color Spiced Honey with the called for colors. And these stitch up really quick. These don't take long at all. So I could knock this out. So there, it's like a really pretty, like autumn gold. Yeah, I could definitely like knock this out quick if I would just devote some time to it. And now she's just about to start. Actually, I think tomorrow the frame comes out for the companion stitch along for this, which instead of cryptids, it's going to say supernatural, and it's going to be, I think, like vampires, werewolves, like those kind of mythical creatures. But it's going to have like the same layout and be in the same style. And of course I signed up for it, and of course I'm doing that, even though I never finished the cryptid stitch along, because I love Meg at the Witchy Stitcher, and I would stitch everything. Everything she designs. I love her. I love everything she designs. Another stitch along that roped me in late. I remember like I resisted this one for a while. This is the Tiny Modernist Zodiac Signs. And I joined when she released Leo. So already like all of these were out. And then that one got me. I'm stitching this on 14 count Aida, so it's really, really big. And I'm using the called for DMC for the zodiac signs, but I switched the border. Like the border just calls for like a DMC, like 830 or 834 or something like that. I switched mine to gold metallic. So mine is going to have this sparkly gold border, but these are stitched in the DMC. So I started in the center and did that Leo. The next time I picked it up, it was Capricorn season. So I went down and did the Capricorn. And then the next time I picked it up, it was time for my sign, Aquarius. So I went up. And then I had every intention of each time the signs changed, like, you know, getting back. Look how big this is. Getting back to it, but then I never did. So maybe I'll get back to this one soon. I dyed this 14 count Aida myself. Okay, so this is Dark Crosses, which is an imprint of modern folk embroidery, but it's like Jacob's goth side. So this is Spirits of the Dead by Dark Crosses, which you can get at the Modern Folk Embroidery website. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm stitching mine with Color and Cotton Caramel Brownie, which is this amazing variegated floss. And I had to go buy a bunch of skeins because I quickly realized this was just eating up floss because it's a 32 count. The fabric is fairy wool and the wood 32 count, Witch Tina is the color name. I got that from Abby at Top Knot Stitcher. So it's like a hand-dyed coffee. It even smells like coffee. But yeah, I started stitching this and then I realized like I was gonna run out of floss. So I went and bought a whole bunch more because it needs 2 strands because it's 32 count and it just kind of eats floss up. But that's where I got on that. I'm loving that. This was a stitch along with my friend Victor. He gifted me this chart. This was Barbara Anna 4 Seasons, which was an exclusive kit with Nitka Moscow. So Barbara Anna does so many of her patterns on Creative Poppy as like PDFs, but then she teams up with Nitka Moscow and does these exclusives where you can't get them as PDFs. You can only get them as a kit where you get a printed chart with the floss. So this was the kit. And it's just, I think it's just DMC floss. So that's where I'm at on that. Not very far. Let me show you just a small picture of what it looks like. So it's the 4 seasons. So these are represent the 4 seasons, and you can stitch them all in a row on the linen, which is what I'm doing. So this was autumn and this was summer. And then obviously I didn't complete either one of those. I started another Owl Forest kit. I have many Owl Forest embroidery kits. This one is Dinosaur Forest. So this is with the kit, the floss, and the fabric that it came with. And I thought I had more done than that. I started in the center. that Brontosaurus almost done, but I definitely do not. Okay, this was a stitch along with my friend Alexis. Alexis, My Amazing World. This is Mirabilia Andromeda. And I'm doing a conversion where I'm giving her a deeper skin tone. I'm stitching her on a fabric. It's a 32 count from Nicholas Flamel, which I got on Etsy. And it was a 3-pack of fabric called the Bronte Sisters. And that's the only way they were named, was it was just called the Bronte Sisters, but each of the 3 fabrics did not have its own name. So I guess I could name this one Jane or Charlotte or Emily. I don't know. Anyway, this is look how pretty this fabric is. And here's my skin tone conversion. So I'm making her a deeper skin tone than what's charted. And I think it's looking so good. I'm really happy with that conversion. And I think it's really looking good with this lilac color in her dress. I have such a sad little start on this, and I love this pattern. So this is my Home in the Garden from Liz Matthews, and this was a stitch along that I started with Alicia Resist Stitch, and I'm using I'm making a silk conversion. So it's just like silk from Stash. Yeah, it was silk from Stash. It wasn't like the Called Force. And this is a 40 count color and cotton, fabric of the month, and the color Parthenon. Oh, I have a little bit more than I thought. I thought I had like nothing done on this. I have a little something done on there. Okay, not so bad, not so bad. Oh, this was Betsy's Stupid Tumor Sal. This is Elizabeth Adelsey by Hedgerow Stitching, and I just need to finish this because it's such a small, quick stitch, and I already have so much done, and I just need to finish this. This is a mystery linen. I have no idea. It was a color and cotton grab bag. I have no idea what it is, but I'm using mostly color and cotton floss, and this is how the linen looks, and this is where I'm at in the chart. I just need to finish it. It's a really quick stitch. A bunch of people just stitch this in a couple days. I'm more than a quarter done. So I need to just knock that one out. This is Lindy Stitch's Autumn Royalty. And I'm doing, oh, that's upside down. So this is a set of 3 patterns. These are quick little patterns. I am stitching these on a band sampler, like 3 in a row on a band sampler. And I have a couple of the called for flosses, but mostly I'm just jumping into like something from Stash that is like, you know, a similar tone. And this is all I've got. So here's my band, which is from Nikki's Creations. This is 28 count German banding that she tea and coffee dyed herself. And then here's my little start on the Count of Candy. So it was stitching up really fast. I just, you know, need to get to it and finish it. This was a charity pattern from Hands On Design and Lady Dot Creates called Philanthropic Pumpkin. This was a gift from my friend Victor, who has finished his already. I have not. So it was a kit, and then you just had to like provide your own DMC. And I have a good amount done on this. I don't know which way this goes. This way. Okay. I was right. So it doesn't really matter because it's a 360 degrees. But I was trying to figure out which way to orient my fabric. So yeah, I have a lot done on this. It's not that much more stitching. Oh, this is one of my absolute favorites. This is Mary Morgan's from Fox and Rabbit. This picture does not do it justice. It's much, much, much brighter than this. Noah has finished his. and it's absolutely stunning. This is, this sampler, this is my favorite sampler for sure. So I'm stitching mine on Barbaral Creations 46 count linen. And of course I'm using the called for DMC. Let me just show you this DMC maybe so you can like get an idea of like the colors, because the chart is, it does show that it's very bright, but I don't know if it really shows like the full extent. Like these colors are bright. So pretty. So this sampler, Karen charted this based on the colors from the back of the sampler, which is what inspired me when I was charting my Thurza sampler. That's what inspired me to do the colors on the back and do the bright version. So I started in the center because I had to stitch that gorgeous rose. And here's what I mean when I say that that cover photo just does not do justice to this chart. It is stunning. So this is the color of the fabric. It's this like yellowy green gold. And then look at that DMC. That's just DMC and it's so beautiful. I love that chart so much. For Betsy's birthday, which was in November, we started Little Birds from Blackbird Designs. This is unfortunately a pretty big chart. I think I had to get a fat half because I don't think it fits on a fat quarter, which always makes me mad. It's $3.95 by $3.39. This is a big ass chart. But I do love the chart, and I certainly was okay with an excuse to start it. I'm stitching this on 40 count vintage country mocha. This is so weird. I have like no recollection of stitching this. Isn't that weird? I could not have told you what I had done on this chart. I do not remember stitching this. I must have blacked out that day. I don't remember this at all. Okay, that's what. Well, that's what I did on that. That's what we did. You know, last fall was a rough time. Wild Violet cross stitch Emily Dickinson birds. This is unfortunately a black and white copy of this. But I'm doing mine on some random 40 count in this like beautiful cherry. Ooh, isn't that pretty? And then I'm doing like my floss is Barbaral Creations Black Tulip, which is indigo plum floss. It's so pretty. And that's where I'm at on that. I'm stitching this with Heather, Link is my homeboy. And I think Michelle Bindi Stitchy was, I don't think she ended up starting hers. I could be wrong, but she was supposed to be sallying that with us. I don't think Michelle ever started hers. Maybe she did. You know, Michelle will commit to anything. Michelle's like me. And I can say this because she's my friend. And I love her. But Michelle will tell you yes to any stitch along. Whether she will actually then start it is another story. But she means well. You know, she commits with the best of intention. And then sometimes I think she's like, why the hell did I say I was going to stitch that? I'm not going to stitch that. Okay, so my next one is Chatelaine. Oh, wait. We're in 2022. We're in this year. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that was my 2021. So my first WIP of this year, 2022, Chatelaine Alpine Garden Seasons Outlander Edition. So this is her, it was already a chart. And somebody told her you know, you could totally make this Fraser's Ridge from Outlander. So she did some modifications. She did like the Fraser tartan plaid, the Fraser family motto, Jesus Pré. She did a few modifications to make her already existing chart more of an Outlander theme. So I'm using all the called for flosses, and this is a 28 count fabric flare in the color Historic Green. And I just started this as this was my New Year's start, January 1st, and look how much I got done. And that is all over one. That is all over one. And that bird is all over one as well. So that was a lot. And that cabin is total confetti. The cabin and the trees. There is so much confetti in there. And I got all that done. It looks awesome though. So it's like a warm light green. So then I started, Meridian Designs, Melee, the South China Sea mermaid. So she has another fuller figured mermaid. She's absolutely stunning. Look at those colors. And I'm stitching her on a Bee Stitch Me 32 count Lagana in the color Haunted. Ooh, this color is so pretty. To me, this feels like you're in like a tropical sea. Like, oh, look at that. Okay, so here's my little start on that. That's the back. I'm showing it. God. Okay. Wow. Okay. Here's my start. I'm in the tentacles. Okay. So a stitch along that I'm mostly keeping up with, believe it or not, this is a black work stitch along. It's called That Which Does Not Kill Me, and it's by Urban Stitches. And I'm a couple of pieces behind, but this one is really easy to catch up on. This is an 18 count Ada from Fiber on a Whim in the color, it's right here, Hazelwood. So 18 count Ada, I struggle to do anything with, but because I don't like the coverage of one strand, but it's awesome for black work because it doesn't really matter, because it's just line work. It's back stitching. So, it makes it a lot easier too to count all these little fiddly stitches. These are very, very, very fiddly little stitches. And that 18 count Ada sure is easier than trying to count on linen. So I am a couple pieces behind, but that is what it looks like overall. Really cool stitch along. I don't regret doing it, but I don't love doing backstitch, so I don't know why I thought I should do that one. But it's looking awesome. So then I started a stitch along with, oh gosh, who else doing this one? It's Alexis and Karen from Fox and Rabbit. Maybe some other people. Carriage House Samplings, Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. They finally twisted my arm. I've wanted to start this forever. I've always loved this pattern, but I knew, I mean, it's a big old pattern. So I kind of tried to resist. And then Alexis was like, I'm going to start it. And I was like, I've always wanted to start it. And she was like, well, you just need to. And then I think I was watching Karen and she said she was thinking of starting it. And so I like twisted her arm. I'm stitching this on 40 count Fiber on a Whim in the color, I'm not sure. I don't know. It might be, oh, Dunes. It's the color Dunes. I got this from Colorado Cross Stitcher from her LNS, which is north of me in Fort Collins, Colorado. And she has an awesome selection of Fiber on a Whim linen. And this is just the called for DMC. So I started in the center because I feel like a lot of people get stuck on that center block. So I was like, let's just get it over with. So Nora Corbett Aquarius was my next start. I started this for my birthday on January 29th. This is stitching really, really fast. And so this was one where I used the fabric viewer that I was talking about earlier. And lo and behold, I tried her on like a random purple fabric and she looked awesome. And so this is a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. So this is what I meant earlier when I was talking about how even if the fabric you want to use isn't loaded in there, you can find one. You can look through the other brands until you find something similar. So I just looked through until I found a purple that was like this tone. And then I saw what she would look like on this tone of purple. So I just need to do her headdress, but I've got all the bottom done. She stitches up really, really fast. I did all of that in like less than a week. Okay, last spin. I started Tombstone Spots from the Primitive Needle. This is with all of the called for floss on a 40 count color and cotton fabric of the month in the color Balmoral. And there's my little start. I think I only worked on this for 2 days, so I don't have very much done. I can't wait to put all of this away. Okay, Bendy Stitchy Lady Man, 1844 Lady Man. This is a stitch along with a bunch of people. Drew from Weasley Studios, Oliver from Fire Poppies, Dee from Dee's 20 Stitches, Alexis My Amazing World, and then Michelle, the designer, is in there as well, but I don't think she's stitching it yet. Imogen from Imogen Stitches is doing a really cool like rainbow conversion of this. Anyway, I'm stitching it with like the called for DMC, but this is a mystery 32 count linen. I don't know what it is. And that's where I'm at. It's a quick, it's not big, it's a small pattern. And it's stitching up quick. Okay, so then I started Miss Eliza Eleonora Balhotch, which is a chart that is found in this book from Artist Designs. This is called A Rainbow of Threads and Garden Beds. And this is one of the projects in this book, which is this reproduction sampler. And Amanda May actually based the colors off of the back of the sampler. So I think she has a picture in here where it has the original, yeah. So, I mean, it's probably hard to see on this, but here's what her sampler she bought looks like on the front. And then here's her model stitch with the colors from the back. So it's a little different. And she released a wool thread pack of floss, which I did get for this. It's the Alana thread. You can get this from Amanda May on her website. And so these are like wool thread. And I am stitching this on a 34 count linen that I dyed myself and totally messed up. Oh, it looks crazier than I remembered. I was going for like a very subtle, like light, barely like dipped in like a light gold, and I did not, I oversaturated. And I ended up with marigold. It is, woo! That's not what I was going for, but I was like, you know what? We're just going to roll with it. And I think it's looking great. But this was not my intention, but it is looking good. So that's what it looks like stitching with those the wool floss. I find it totally like fine. It's fine to use. She just advises that you do small lengths because it'll fray a little bit more than DMC. But yeah, that's what it's looking really good, even though that's totally not what I meant to do. I am happy with it. Okay, so oh my gosh. Okay. So I released, in April, I released my, Thurza Priscilla Dawes 1870, which is my own sampler from Hemlock and Rye Stitchery. And I released it in 2 colorways. So we have the bright colors based off the back of the sampler, and then we have the aged version based off of what I was seeing on the front of the sampler. So I stitched both of these. Loved it, had a great time stitching this, but you know, probably didn't feel like I needed to do a 3rd version. But then Brendan and Karen from Fox and Rabbit decided that Brendan decided he was going to stitch this, and he wanted to do like a monthly Zoom where it would like encourage him to work on it every month. And then anyone who was stitching this chart with us could join in the Zoom and just hang out and stitch with us. So I was like totally flattered and thrilled that they wanted to do that. But then I felt like I needed to stitch another Thurza, because like I didn't want to just sit there and like not stitch on Thurza during the Zoom. So I started a 3rd version of Thurza. And I don't have a way to show you right now, but I'm doing an entire new colorway. So I decided to do like a really dark, moody, like a really dark and moody, like tons of teals, indigos, greens, and purples. So these are my favorite colors, basically. So this is the palette I'm using, and I like went in and recharted. I mean, it's the same chart, but like I changed all the colors in there, and it's not a 1-to-1. Like I didn't change, you know, if something was in like, I'm trying to think how to explain this. So like if one of the colors was 760, okay, and that's used like in a few specific places, I didn't just change that to something else and just change that same, it doesn't correlate. I took my palette and I just plugged it in all over, and so it's not a direct translation. So as I'm stitching this, I might change things. When I'm done and I'm happy, I might release this 3rd version of Thurza. So I'm calling this right now tentatively Thurza Goes Goth. This is 40 count picture this plus Murky. And here's what my border's looking like. So I'm going for like Disney Goth on this version. And I will update you all as I go. Like here's a bad mock-up where you can maybe kind of see what I'm going for with this, like just dark blues and purples. So there's that. And then I started Plum Street Samplers Spring Moon. This is an exclusive with Fox and Rabbit for the time being. I'm sure Paulette will release this at some point, but for right now you can get it through Fox and Rabbit. And I'm stitching this on the called for 36 count baked clay fabric, and most of the called for floss, but I had to substitute a few things that I didn't have. This fabric is gorgeous. I love this fabric. And here's where I'm at on this. There's a lot of stitching in this pattern, but I love it. Okay, so then I found myself committed to another Frosted Pumpkin stitch along. So this is the Under the Sea Club, and this is where the stitch along currently is sitting. They just released this part right here. So I have all of this done, but I haven't started this part. I'm doing a 32 count Bestitch Me fabric in the color Gunmetal. And mostly the called for DMC. I had to change a couple of ones that weren't showing up like quite right on the fabric. Like this, I know this, the waves, the blue waves, called for Classic Colorworks Deep Blue Sea, which I had, but it faded too much on here. So I had to switch to something else. So this is like a gunmetal blue gray. And there's where I'm at on that. We are almost done. We are hitting the end here. For Karen's birthday, we started Blackbird Designs Humming of the Bees. And I am stitching this on a 40 count fiber on a whim. I don't remember what the color is. It might have been called Sand. I can't remember. It's fiber on a whim though, and it's a 40 count. And so this is what it looks like. And so I've had to change a lot of the colors. I had all the called for colors, but they're not looking right on this fabric. So I had to change some of them. Wow, that does not want to pick up that gold. Look at this is what the fabric looks like. And as I come in, it tries to turn to like a gray. Anyway, camera does not like that, but that's where I'm at on that one. I started a piece on plastic canvas. It's still cross stitched, but it's on plastic canvas. This is from Innocent Bones, and it's called Celestial Gothic. And the chart did not come with a picture of what it looks like, and I don't feel like editing. But this is about a fourth of the chart. And it was a kit. Oh my gosh, my last one. For my full moon project that I'm stitching with some friends on every full moon, I started Kathy Barrick, The Moons of 2022. This chart is no joke. That is all full coverage there at the top. It's a big chart with a lot of stitching. I'm stitching mine on 40 count Fortnite fabrics in the color Grandma's Stuffin', and I'm using a bunch of silks that I had in stash, like not the called for, just ones that are in the same color. So here's what the fabric looks like. And here is my start. So this was just 2 nights of stitching. So I outlined the moon and stars, and then I started doing that blue fill-in. And I'll get that out every full moon. So you will see progress on that through the year. And that is all 104 projects. I am tired. My back hurts. Ooh, okay. I have no idea how long this is. We'll see in a minute, I guess. But yeah, those are all of my works in progress. I hope to get a lot of those finished this year, but we will see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.